My name is Elizabeth Yuko. I am the health and sex editor at She Media. And I'm so excited and honored to be with you here today. Working in the women's health space, vaginas are basically my bread and butter. I can't make it through a day without getting 10 pitch emails for different menstrual products or lube or pelvic floor exercises. So sometimes I forget that these body parts are actually still somewhat taboo and stigmatized. Which is dumb. So our first speaker is on the front lines of squashing that stigma and getting out accurate information about women's sexual and vaginal health. Please join me in welcoming Vagician extraordinaire, CEO of Vagisil, Keech, Combe, Shetty.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning, BlogHer Health. I am so excited to be here this morning and to be with all these wonderful, incredibly inspiring women. And I'm really excited to introduce our next panel. Women Tell All, a shameless discussion on generations of vaginal and sexual health. So I hope all of you have had your coffee this morning because we're going to be dropping a lot of V-bombs, a lot of V-truths, and we're going to be talking a lot about vaginal health. Many of you probably know that my grandparents actually launched Vagisil in the 1970s. But what you might not know is that my grandmother was the one who actually named Vagisil, and my father, my dad, was actually the one who set up our distribution internationally, so we are now the most widely distributed intimate health brand globally, bringing solutions to vaginas all over the world. Thank you. I am damn proud of that family history and the fact that I'm third generation CEO of my family business. And that is also why I'm really excited that this year we are going to be launching generations of shameless. Vagisil has always provided healthcare solutions for every vagina on the planet and been a trusted source for all vaginas for their personal care needs. But equally important, we've also been a trusted voice for women for generations. And this is what we are looking to amplify even further. I've been asked hundreds of times whether I feel like as a society we have progressed far enough since the launch of Vagisil in the 1970s. And frankly, I don't think we have. You know, I remember back to when we first launched Vagisil and the government actually tried to silence us. Network TV tried to tell us that we can't say vagina on TV, and they tried to censor us. And honestly, this still happens today. Now, I'm the mom of a 6-year-old little girl and a 3-year-old little boy, and I do not want them to grow up in a society where pressures, taboos, and shame really get in the way of women getting the right health care and the right education, and frankly, the right intimate health care and sexual education that they all deserve. Vagisil really has been empowering women for generations, and we're going to keep fighting for these conversations to keep happening, for women to get open and honest education about their intimate sexual and reproductive health. And we're going to use every weapon in our arsenal to keep doing that. And that's why in 2019, we're actually starting a new initiative called the Vaginal and Sexual Health Education Council, or we call it vSHEC for short. Let me tell you a little bit about vSHEC. vSHEC is a team of 4 preeminent specialists, 2 gynecologists, 1 sex therapist, and 1 pharmacist. And we're going to be deploying these women throughout the year to drop as many V-bomb facts and clear up truths and taboos throughout the year so that we can continue this conversation. Our Fantastic 4 are incredible experts and nationally renowned, and I am super excited that today we have 2 of those members here. We have Dr. Shannon Chavez, who's a nationally known sex therapist, and she's amazing. And then we also have Dr. Jane Minkin, who is a gynecologist from Yale, and ladies, I gotta tell you, she's like the RBG of OBGs. She is, you're gonna love her, she's amazing. We also have a special guest, vSHEC member, and a very good friend of mine, Meika Hollender. Now, Meika is the CEO and co-founder of Sustain Naturals, and if you haven't heard of Sustain Naturals is environmentally friendly period and sexual health products that she started 5 years ago. And I'm really excited to announce that a couple days ago, Meika and I announced that Combe, my family business, made a strategic investment into Sustain because she's been marching to the same drum that I've been marching to for the past few years, and we just want to amplify that message and join forces and get the message out as far and wide as possible. So I'm really excited that she's joined us here today. So before we bring this amazing panel on stage, we're going to run a short video just to introduce you to everybody.
I am here to free the word vagina. The shame needs to stop, because if we can't say it, then how can we care for it? My passion and my mission is to make vaginal health approachable and accessible to every vagina on the planet.
To reduce your sexual shame with Dr. Shannon Chavez.
Give yourself permission to talk about it, to reach out to others, to make yourself a priority, and to open up about what it is that's causing that shame.
I think all eggs are created equal.
And know if you are having any troubles conceiving, that there's a lot of help available.
I started Sustain with my father. We really wanted to be a model for communication among parents and children when it comes to talking about sex and safe sex.
I love that guy. Please join me in welcoming my fabulous panel and Elizabeth Yuko back to moderate it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. So we've been talking a little bit about our vaginal and sexual health already. This group is very good at using correct anatomical terms, which is amazing. I'm very much over things like lady parts or down there, hoo-ha. I'm a grown-ass woman. I don't have a hoo-ha. So then there's also the fun fact of when people just use vagina as a catch-all term for everything that's down there. No, you have a labia, a vulva, and everyone's favorite, the clitoris. We can do better. In today's panel discussion, we're going to hear from 4 amazing women who are working towards destigmatizing and demystifying all things vagina, armed with facts and anatomically correct terms. After that, we're going to have an extra special event today, which will be a Q&A. So please start thinking of your burning vagina questions. It doesn't literally have to be a burning vagina.
There's medication for that.
Although if that is the case, see Dr. Minkin afterwards. So yeah, get those ready. But in the meantime, please join me in welcoming Keech Shetty, again, CEO of Vagisil, Dr. Mary Jane Minkin, rock star OBGYN, Dr. Shannon Chavez, a sex expert, therapist, and educator, and Meika Hollender, the co-founder and CEO of Sustain Natural. So Keech, you were talking a little bit about vSHEC, and that sounds like an amazing idea. As someone working in this space, I'm very excited about more facts getting out there. Dr. Minkin and Dr. Chavez, could you talk about your roles within vSHEC and why you decided to get involved?
Well, thank you, Elizabeth, and thank everybody for inviting us here. And I also really want to thank Keech and the entire Vagisil team for asking me to be on the team. As sort of a representative of healthcare professionals here, this is an extremely important thing. We all want to be talking about anatomically correct terms, and the Vaginal Sexual Health and Education Council is a really great way to do it. You all are here because you want excellent health information going out to all of your readers. Unfortunately, as you saw my comment about Dr. Google, there is a lot of misinformation out there. And one of the things I'm going to urge you all to do is to help us separate the good information, the bad information, or also, just to put it frankly, to help us cut the crap out there as far as getting health information, accurate health information, out to all your readers. And I really appreciate you all being here today.
Great. And Dr. Chavez?
I'm also very excited to be here today and be a part of this amazing panel. And for me, I really hope to help women be able to have these conversations that we've always thought of as uncomfortable. I mean, even today, I've had a handful of conversations with just women around that we've been working with. So I think it's important that we have the tools to talk about it. We know what we need to do. We're using correct terms. We're talking to not only each other, but our doctors, our therapists, our mothers, our sisters. And I think more than anything, education is really important. We need good education. We need good resources. And I think the more educated we are, the more informed we are, the more aware we are, the more confident we feel. And then overall, that's what makes us feel empowered around our sexuality.
Absolutely. That is so true. And Meika, you're a guest member on the vSHEC Council. Could you talk a little bit about your work with the council and what you plan on doing?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Meika. As they mentioned, I started a company called Sustain Natural almost 5 years ago. Sustain's a brand of all-natural, vagina-friendly essentials. So we make everything from condoms to organic cotton tampons, most recently a reusable period cup. So I'm not a doctor or a sex therapist, but I have had the opportunity to speak to thousands of women, both in person and then hundreds of thousands of women through our customer service over the last 5 years. And for me, I think what I hope to bring, and just in general, sort of my mission is to amplify the voice of all these women that I've spoken to. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of lack of sex-positive, accurate information out there, and there's a lot to celebrate. So I'm just looking forward to basically amplifying the voices of my customers through this council and onwards and upwards.
Yeah. Great. And earlier, Keech, you mentioned the generation of shameless that's happening this year. Could you talk a little bit more about that and what that means to you and what that really means for all of us?
Yeah, you know, I think that in this day and age, there's really kind of a groundswell of women's voices and amplifying their voices and things that are important to them that they should be talking about. And for us, really, the generations it's both up and down. I think within these four walls, that we're probably on the more comfortable side of the spectrum of talking about these topics and being really straightforward and honest. But there are a lot of people who are not as far along on that spectrum as we are. And I think all of you and all of us on the stage too, it's like we have a responsibility to bring people along in that conversation, whether it's generations above us or generations below us, and to celebrate what has happened in the past, but also really try to encourage those conversations to keep happening in the future. And I think that's really why we're here today, to really amplify that voice.
Great. Dr. Minkin?
Well, I would like to add on to what Keech has just said, that this generations of shameless concept is very important. I've been taking care of and delivering babies and taking care of women for just about 40 years in private practice. You know, I've taken care of some astonishing women who have really practiced this concept of generations of shameless many, many years ago. And I agree completely with Keech's point about we need to educate our younger folks. And again, you're instrumental in doing all of that. But we also need to educate our older folks. And a lot of our older generations can learn from some of the younger generations and some of the more open conversations that we're able to have these days, and I think it's really fabulous. And as Keech mentioned, for example, we really have trouble saying the word vagina on TV, which is ludicrous, and we should be out there talking about it, but something that I try to do every day in my education of my medical students. I would like to have every medical student be able to walk into a room to an appropriate person and be able to say comfortably, "Hey, how's your vagina?" You know, and just ask that question to initiate the conversation, and I think it's really important. And that's one of the things we were talking about, sex health education for our kids, Shannon and I, earlier, and that's one thing we really need to get out there.
Dr. Chavez?
You know, I grew up in a very conservative Latino household, and like many of us, sex was not talked about. But I was also a kid growing up in the 80s, listening to Prince and Madonna and all this music where sexuality was out there. So I think there were a lot of mixed messages, and it wasn't socially acceptable to talk about sex. But because of that, we've seen a lot of shifts. I mean, we have social media, we have technology, so I think it's getting better for women to talk about it. So to me, Generations of Shameless is basically women working across generations to be able to talk about these issues and accept our bodies, accept our sexuality, get rid of the shame, get rid of the stigma, get rid of the taboos.
Absolutely. Meika, anything you want to add to this?
If not, that's fine. I agree with everything. Yeah, I mean, I think something that we've talked about a lot is really, how far have we really come? I think, in some ways I feel like I've just started doing this because it's only been 5 years, but in other ways, so much has changed, at least in terms of what I've been experiencing personally, being a young woman running a condom company, all the way through, I think, sort of the pivotal moment of the 2016 election, which I think has a lot of implications in terms of moving us forwards much more quickly. So I think looking back, and Keech and I actually did a lot of looking back when we were talking about her making this strategic investment, which we're both really excited about, and looking at what she mentioned where in the 1970s they had trouble getting their brand name approved. And yet we're still censored by Facebook every single day in terms of the words that we're using. So I think it's really interesting to look back and say, okay, some shit still gotta change, but in other ways I think a lot is changing.
Definitely. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the Generations of Shameless year is that, as Dr. Minkin was talking about before, vaginal health doesn't stop in your 30s or 40s. Like vaginas are not a young woman's game. Everyone half the population has one, usually for their whole life. And there's so many different things that happen over the course of a woman's life that I love the concept of thinking about it, not just like, oh, you pop out a baby, you're done, bye. No, you're still there. You should have whatever sex life you want to have and be a healthy person. So this is great. Applause to Keech for that. Moving on, question for all of you. What do you think are the next big trends we'll see in women's health?
You want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. I think there are really two main trends that we're seeing. Number one, I think it's transparency really from brands in general that consumers are really demanding. And for companies like mine, it kind of manifests itself in terms of ingredients. And that's something that Meika and I are very passionate about, is to tell you, okay, this is exactly what's in our products and this is why. And we actually, if you're curious as to what is in Vagisil's products, come to our booth because we have a brand new monograph that explains to you, okay, this is what's in our products and why. I think that's great. It's not all of us are chemists, and not all of us know what all these ingredients are. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. We just need to explain it better, and I think that's fantastic. Another big trend, which I'm even more excited about, I think, is really the advocacy and the activism that we're seeing from individuals, from brands, from CEOs, from companies, and I really love that. And for us, a big part of that really started a couple of years ago when we launched Preventiza emergency contraception. And for us, that wasn't just a product launch. We'd been talking about it for years before. This is really a mission for us. We really think that women need to understand what their options are for their sexual health toolkit, and we really think that all women should actively have a toolkit. It should include condoms, hopefully sustained condoms. It should probably include maybe a little lube, whatever your birth control choices, and emergency contraception, because that is an option. Just because your birth control choices failed or you forgot to take a pill or whatever, you're still okay, you still got it. And that should be a proactive choice, and you should know about that information. It's really much more than just a product launch for us. It's a mission. And we actually teamed up with Yale and Dr. Minkin and donated a few $1 million worth of product to her clinics all over the nation, because we think it's important that women have access to these kind of products. So.
And I'd also like to put in a big thank you to Keech and the company for donating these, because that's fabulous. And also, this is a tribute to my institution here, that of course, that morning after contraception was indeed invented in our department. So we thank you especially.
Thank you.
So anyway, thank you, Keech.
Thank you.
That's great. I think a lot of people are thanking you right now. Dr. Chavez.
I'd also like to add we should have vibrators in our kits because they are
Yes.
great for our vaginas. They help regulate stress. They're really the most essential thing for our sexual health. And I think what we're also going to see with our new trends are focuses on brain health, research on brain health and how it impacts our mental and physical health. I mean, I see everyone out here with our devices. I think we are more stimulated now and plugged in than we've ever been. We want to know how that's impacting our sexual health, our relationships, how we're communicating. All of this is changing how our brains are programmed. So I think it's important for us to unplug. I actually recommend that my clients unplug at least 2 hours before bed. You know, have days where you're just completely away from devices, you're not looking at your computer. All of this is really important. I think we're also going to see a little bit of, in the future, we're going to look back and go, what were we doing?
Wait, so are you saying to put our devices away so we can have more sex?
Yes.
Less devices, more vibrators.
What
yes.
about vibrator devices?
And other activities.
Yeah.
Have a screen. It's okay.
Okay, as long as there's no screen. Yeah, because we don't want to unplug those 2 hours before bedtime. You know, that could help you sleep a little bit. Meika, anything you want to add to the future of women's health?
Yeah, I think, I've spent the last 5 years really focused on sexual health and protection, but something that I'm really passionate about and I think I'm seeing sort of spread a lot more throughout women right now is pleasure and pleasure inequality. There's a huge orgasm gap. I did not invent that term. You can look up what that means. But basically, what I think is really crazy is, women have been demanding equal pay. We've been shifting responsibilities in terms of raising our children more equally, but yet when we enter the bedroom, there's this huge gap. Men go into every sexual encounter expecting an orgasm, and women don't do the same. And so something that Sustain's really focused on this year is equal pleasure and communicating. You need to get to know your body first before you can go into that experience with someone else and expect that they're going to just know how to turn you on. We should move to a place of pleasure equality.
Love that. So now is your chance to ask any of your vagina or vulva related questions or anything in that general vicinity.
Hi, my name's Carmel. I'm a registered nurse, and much of my career I worked in labor and delivery. But I was wondering, especially now with the internet being as big as it is, and one of the little slides said something about everybody wants to go to Google when they have questions about vaginal or sexual health. How can a woman be sure that she's getting her information from the right source and not just from some rando out there who's, who knows what's going to come out of that?
And that was my comment, so I'll take this one too. Thank you. So anyway, thank you for the question because it's an excellent question. And indeed, it's a tough one because, as I said, there's a lot of misinformation, crap, whatever you want to call it out there, and how do you accept what is the right information? One thing that I've always felt, long before God invented the internet, was the fact that it's always important to have a really good relationship with your gynecological healthcare provider, be that your nurse midwife, your nurse practitioner, your OBGYN, your PCP, whoever you feel comfortable talking with these issues about, and have a trust relationship. So if you hear something that sounds crazy, first of all, it probably is, but somebody that you can go to say, listen, is this crazy? Is this real? Can you give me some references that I might check out that are really good scientific references? Help me get along with this. And again, I appreciate everybody being here today and for all the excellent work you've all been doing, and to try to get good information out to people is crucial. But again, encourage all of your readers to establish a good relationship with your healthcare provider that you feel comfortable trusting this individual.
Can I have a quick build off of that too? This is more a general response is know the source. Read below the fold. And understand. I want to do like a national statistics course because statistics are important and they mean something. So if it's not statistically significant, that means it's just a rumor or it's made up. It has to be statistically significant for you to believe the actual facts. And there's so many times I hear people repeat things, and I'm like, where did you see that? They're like, some headline. And I'm like, no, that's not good enough because you're regurgitating that information, and that's going to become fact, and it's not fact. So, figure out the source, read below the fold, and really think about it.
Keech, are you saying there are no alternative facts in medicine?
I'm gonna leave that one into you.
Okay, so I'd like to just add a little bit as well. I would just want to say, have a treatment team, have a treatment tribe of women that you're working with, and ask them about products, and make sure that if you don't have a good fit with your doctor or therapist, find a new one. Find someone who's going to be able to help you.
I'm just curious overall as a journey, where do you think we are, like as a whole, and do you think this fight will ever be over? When do you think it will be over? I'm so curious to hear what you guys think from a larger point of view. Yeah.
It's going to be over on March 6th. No.
Mark the calendar.
You know, I'm optimistic. Because of the groundswell that we've been seeing the past couple of years. And really my hope is to start seeing in the next generation that the stigma and the shame around sexual, reproductive, and vaginal health is no longer there. I mean, it's a body part. Frankly, I'm on Mucinex right now. I have a cold. My nose does way more disgusting things than my vagina has ever done, and yet I'm not too ashamed to talk about my nose, right? P.S. Thank you for Mucinex. I think it's a journey that there's still more to be done. It's a journey that we're still on, and I really encourage all of you. You all have such a powerful voice, and I really encourage you to truly try to bridge with people who maybe aren't as comfortable and figure out, okay, what's going to get them comfortable? Not just shock value. How do we bridge and get people more comfortable, more to where I'm assuming most of us are right now in this room? The journey is going to be over, and I'm going to quote RBG again because I'm a huge fan. Women will be truly emancipated when men take equal responsibility for raising the next generation. It's a journey.
I have a women's health startup too, and I've looked at a lot of women's products. So this is actually a question for you, Dr. Chavez, about the vibrators. Specifically, when I looked at some of them, they were super powerful, like when we were taking them apart. And I was working with an OB-GYN for my particular product, which is not an adult toy, but nonetheless. And I was wondering, you were saying, you know, they're healthy, we should have them, you know, in our little kits and use them every day, but is there any downside to it, and what should we look out for to stay healthy?
Right, I recommend that women start with a vibrator on the lowest intensity and explore different options for vibrators. There's external, there's internal, there's some specific for certain areas of the body. So I think we think the highest intensity is what provides the most stimulation, but you want to start slow and condition your body to respond to that type of stimulation. And also vary it. So if you're using the same intensity over and over again, your body is going to get conditioned to that. So try to vary it, different parts of your vulva, really explore how to use a vibrator. Think of it like a massager. So how would you use a massager on any part of your body? Think about massaging your vulva in different ways, and that's what I would recommend. You can get nerve damage if you're using a high intensity over and over again, and especially if you're not breathing and you're tense in the body, you can be interfering with blood flow and the nerve connections in the genital area. So you just want to, again, vary it, and a little intensity goes a long way.
By the way, I love some of our male photographers in the room are like,
Hello, my name is Shauna Shipley Gates, and I'm a sexual health educator myself out of Kansas City, Missouri. I want to know how the vSHEC team plans on engaging the communities of color and also trans and gender nonconforming individuals who also have a vagina. I've been hearing women, but the movement of women's health, it doesn't really include those populations. So how do you all plan on engaging those populations? Thank you.
Great question.
An amazing question.
Well, I'm actually a woman of color, and one of my niche areas in my practice is working with some of the issues that we deal with, especially from my community and other cultures. I work with a lot of conservative cultures that have certain religious belief systems that impact either their access to sexual health resources, or it's too taboo to go to therapy or talk to a doctor. So that's definitely an area. And we have a whole group and network of clinicians of color that are reaching out to these communities.
So my daughter is actually a little girl of color, and so is my son for that matter too. So this is a high priority for me personally, and I think we actually have some new creative that we're focusing on speaking to everyone who is a vagina owner. Inclusion is important because we need to reflect all women and all vagina owners around the world. The fact that we have the broadest portfolio of intimate health products and we're most broadly distributed globally, we see all these trends. We talk to many women all over the world, so we're able to take those learnings and apply them in the US where it's a bit more of a melting pot, or Brazil where it's a bit more of a melting pot, or wherever. So these are kind of conversations that we're used to having, and we are encouraging to have more of them.
Are we done?
I think we're at time.
We're out of time. Okay.
But you guys, Vagisil has an amazing panel upstairs.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's right. I'm supposed to say that.
Yes, 2:45.
My team's like, Keech, don't forget. Please come see us at our booth, which is on, what floor are we on?
Fourth floor.
It's on the fourth floor? Okay. Please come see us at our booth on fourth floor. We have some amazing new products that I think you guys are going to love. Sensitive Sensi's bath bombs that I'm like obsessed with. But come see us, talk to us. We're going to be there from 2:45 to 3:45. There are going to be cocktails served. Literally on my schedule, it says I start drinking at 2:45 today. So come join me. And we have tons of questions that we can answer.
Yes, and we're going to be there to answer questions too. So anybody's got questions, come on up.
Did I forget anything? Hashtag Vagisil generations, right? Did I get
awesome?
Damn it. Hashtag Vagisil 4 generations. I almost had it. So thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone for participating today. Thank you for your wonderful questions, and stick around. There's still so much more great programming.
Thanks, guys.